وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على سيدنا مولانا حبيب إله العالمين أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، ولعنة الله على القوم الظالمين الأولين والآخرين. أما بعد، صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، ويا باب نجاة الأمة، ويا عبرة لكل مؤمن ومؤمنات، غريب مظلوم كربلاء. فيا ليتني يا ليتني كنا معكم سادتي، فنفوز فوزا عظيما. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. الصلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Assalamu alaikum. Before we begin our series of discussions for these 10 days, let us together send our condolences to Imam al-Hujjah for the grief which he feels in these ayam with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Now then, something is happening. Something which has begun already and will continue peaking on the day of Ashura. It's begun. Something is happening which has happened many years before and will happen for many years after. For some reason, you've been given the opportunity to take part in it through some act of goodness. Maybe your parents did, maybe which you did. This institution of Muharram and Majalis of Hussein has continued before and after the day of Ashura, and here we are. Something is happening which only comes very rarely. Nobody gave you the guarantee that you would live to see this Muharram. And maybe in your community you have people who you have lost since last Muharram until now. Certainly in mine there are. The blessing, the sa'adat of being in Majalis of Hussein should never be neglected by anyone. And here we are. Something which is happening. Now, if a person said to you that in the month of Muharram, what exactly is going to happen? What are you going to see? You might answer and say something like, we are going to see and experience the most unbearable musibah that has ever happened. More than the death of my own parents, the death of Abu Abdullah. Musibatan ma a'damaha wa a'damaha raziyatu fil Islam. The greatest musibah to ever happen within the world of Islam is this musibah in 10 days. So a person might ask you, what are you going to see in this month? You might say, well, I'm going to see an imtihan which no one has faced before. The imtihan of Abu Abdullah. That's what I'm going to see. Or you might say, I'm going to see an imam. Show to us the value of imam. That this institution would say the Zahra fought to preserve in the days of Saqifa now lies alone on the sands of Karbala. In any case, if someone says to you this movement which is occurring, what do you see? I see pain, I see suffering, I see hardship, I see difficulty. But when they asked Sayyidah Zainab, what do you see in these 10 days of Muharram? She replied, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. I see nothing but beauty. Beauty. all of the pain and suffering which you may answer, she says, I see only beauty, nothing but beauty. They said to her, you witnessed your own brother on that day be killed in a way in which we have never killed anyone. And she replied, still I saw nothing except beauty. ما رأيت إلا جميلة. For the sake of Sayyidina Zainab sallallahu alaihi Muhammad wa alayhi. So this thing which is happening, which we are part of, somehow it ends with beauty. I'm not sure what beauty yet. Something to do with Abu Abdullah. Either he says something, or he does something, or he makes some decision. But there is some moment which is so overpowering that when Sayyidah Zainab reflects, she sees nothing except this moment of beauty. In the same way that if you shine a light, and the light is so bright it dazzles you, you no longer see the detail of the room. You just see the light and you have to look away. But when they ask you, what did you see? Just light. Abu Abdullah is Misbah al-Huda. He is that shining lantern, that when he shines, we see nothing except him. So now I ask to all of you, Muharram is here, the 10 days are here, the Farsh has been set, the walls are ready, everyone is ready, the speakers, the Pursa, the Matam, the Majlis, everything's here. What are you going to see in these 10 days? Zainab saw beauty. Will you see that same beauty? What does this beauty look like? How can I experience this beauty? And will I have the opportunity to keep this beauty with me until next Muharram? This is our discussion. And before we begin, if you are with me and I have your attention, Sallallahu Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. Sayyidina Zainab, I see nothing except beauty. In these 10 days, this beauty is going to come. We have to be ready to see it. What is this beauty? The word beauty is a name of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah is Jameel. Before we go any further, that's where we begin. Allah Azza wa Jal says that one of my names is Jameel. All of you also know that famous saying that beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. And so not everyone finds everything beautiful in one moment. You know, I could look at a landscape or a picture or a photo or a person and find them beautiful. And you could look and say, I don't think they're beautiful. It's something which is subjective, we can disagree about it. But the beauty of Allah is different. And the beauty Zainab sees is of different quality. None can deny the beauty which she saw on Ashura. And none can deny the beauty of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah says, we have this narration actually from Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Inna Allahu ta'ala jamilun yuhibbul jamal. Allah is beauty, and He loves beauty. Not Allah is beautiful, like we can be beautiful. No. He is beauty itself. And He has muhabbat for anything else which is beautiful. To have your attention, are you following, inshallah? Okay. Because we can go in deep directions, inshallah, if we are together. So, Inna Allahu ta'ala jamilun yuhibbul jamal. God says, I am beauty, and I love beauty. And Sayyidah Zainab says, I see nothing but beauty. This means that whatever she is seeing, whatever she's experiencing, there is some beauty which Abu Abdullah exhibited on the day of Ashura, which is linked to Allah Azza wa Jal. He had some experience. He saw Allah somehow. He understood Allah. He experienced something in which there was beauty. Okay, let's move further. It's been said by Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam that I do not do an action except that I see Allah before the action, during the action, and after. I don't do an action, but I see Allah before, during, and after. What does Sayyidah Zainab say? I see nothing but beauty. Imam Ali, I do nothing except that I see Allah before, during, and after. Which means that Abu Abdullah does some action before it there is beauty, during there's beauty, and after it there is beauty. But the question remains, what is this beauty? And what was this action? We know so far that it somehow links to Allah, and we're content with this. But we're not sure exactly how. Okay. The concept of beauty is something known as a zina. Zina means something which is an addition, something which you add to make something more beautiful. A person could be beautiful, but a quality you add to them makes them more beautiful. We know that Zainab saw beauty, and Ali sees beauty. What beauty does Hussein see? Abu Abdullah himself said in Medina, before he's even reached Karbala. Actually, he says it in Makkah, when he reaches Makkah. He says that for us, the children of Adam, death is beauty. So what's beauty for Abu Abdullah? Death. He says, in the same way a necklace increases the beauty of a young girl, death increases beauty for me. A person is beautiful. When you add a necklace to them, you increase their beauty. They become more precious, more valuable. Imam Hussein's own saying. In the same way for Abu Abdullah, living life is beauty. But what makes that life more beautiful is a death fi sabilillah. Like a death, a true death, an honorable death, which people are admiring, and people see that Allah was the cause and the motive for this death. Nothing is more beautiful. So for Abu Abdullah, he says that for me, the beauty which I see is death. True death, honest death, death with girdar, death with honor, death with dignity, death for the sake of Allah. Please do more salawat ala Muhammad wa alihi. Now, not everyone appreciates this though. Not every individual will appreciate seeing somebody who has this love for Allah. The verse I mentioned of the Quran, سَبَّحَ لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Everything which exists is doing tasbih of Allah. But not everyone can see this tasbih. The verse of the Quran later is وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِهِ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تُسَبِّحُونَ. That everything is doing either subh or hamd of Allah. It's doing tasbih or hamd. But you will not understand the language of that tasbih. So I ask you a question. Hussein is shakir. Hussein does shukr. Hussein does hamd. But what is the language of his tasbih? Language of his tasbih. The narration says that after every wound Abu Abdullah feels, he does shukr of Allah. Every wound, he thanks Allah. And as the day of Karbala continues, as he's moving closer and closer to his beautiful death, the enemy say we saw his face became more and more beautiful as the day continued. Why? Because he's moving towards beauty. And Zainab could see this beauty. So I ask all of you, as the days of Muharram continue, keep an eye out for those moments where Abu Abdullah, in the most difficult heat of the battle, turns back to Allah. Because that's his imtihan. And each time he's tested, and we'll go through the different ways he's tested, always the answer is the same, Alhamdulillah. Every wound, every difficulty, every suffering, every moment where any one of us would turn away, Abu Abdullah says, I thank Allah for this suffering that I've experienced. Through imtihan, he becomes beautiful. Alright. More than this, however, you have to ask yourself, Abu Abdullah was only allowed to show us his beauty because of the imtihan he faced, the suffering he faced. If it wasn't for this suffering, would we see this beauty? It takes an event like Ashura, that type of musibah to bring out a person like Hussein. You will not see this beauty elsewhere. You will not notice it unless you are tested. Let's pause for a second. All of you know that in your lives, when you suffer, that suffering, that difficulty, that musibah, the imtihan makes you better. We know this. We teach this to children. You lose money. So you go and you pray for rizq from Allah. That prayer makes you more beautiful. The sweetness of ibadah. You lose a family member. Someone has passed away. It's difficult. But because they've passed away, you move closer to Allah as you contemplate your own death. Or those of you who are, playing sports or going to the gym, the more difficult it gets to lift those weights, the more effect it's having on you. The harder the resistance, the harder the suffering, the greater the counterweight, the greater the effect. And this continues. Suffering makes you better, which is why once Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to somebody's house. He was invited. Rasulullah, come for dinner. He said, yeah, okay, I'll come for dinner. And he brought all his companions and they went together. And they're sitting and they noticed that this person has a nice house. Like everything in this house is great. Okay. The companions are sitting and they look in the garden and they see a bird. The bird has a nest. In the nest there are eggs. One of the eggs drops out of the nest, but instead of cracking, it rolls down the side, falls underneath it, doesn't crack, goes under, and just by chance there's a few leaves to cushion its blow. And the companions are like, right, this person has good circumstance, he's living life well. They go to Rasulullah, they tell him this. He goes, get up, we're leaving. We're not staying here. Why? He says, if a person is not tested by Allah at all, that person is not going near Allah. Stay away from them. Don't go near them. Bala is a blessing for the mu'min. Which is why Imam Muhammad al-Baqir Islam said a very similar thing. He says, in the same way a distant traveler sends gifts ahead of time, Allah will send you bala. He'll send you difficulties. Be grateful He's sending it to you. Another narration says, if you don't receive any problem within 3 days, go and do istighfar. Allah is keeping them from you. When He loves you, He tests you. He brings you closer to Him. Illness, sickness. We complain when we're ill. But Imam says what? If you knew the blessing that you have whilst in the state of being sick, you would wish to die in that state. Next time you get a cold or a fever or you have a difficulty, and we have people with many serious injuries and illnesses, that's an opportunity for shukr from Allah. Because every second of suffering you have when you're ill is a second you will not have of suffering in akhirah.
Wow.
He's cleaning you and keeping you safe and pure for Him in akhirah. Okay, let's resume where we were at. Abu Abdullah is tested. What do we just agree? The more you're tested, the more Allah loves you. How much was Hussein tested? So how much must Allah love you? You see how we got there? Like, if I'm tested a little bit and I'm trying to improve and become better, good for me. But Abu Abdullah, no one is tested like Sayyid al-Shuhada. And so no one can show the beauty of Sayyid al-Shuhada. You see how it works? It works both ways. The more you're tested, the more beauty you show. If you're with me, Sallallahu Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. At this point, you would be in your right to say, stop for a second. What have we agreed so far? Because there's a problem. Maybe some of you have noticed it already. What's the problem? Sayyidah Zainab says, I see nothing but beauty. Good, we understand. Abu Abdullah has done some action of beauty on Ashura. We want to know what it is. Fine. You with me so far. We are here in Muharram 2019. We have a chance to understand that beauty, to learn about it. Fine. But why Hussein? We have 12 Imams. If there's true beauty to be found, why was Abu Abdullah the one who's given us this beauty? We have 12 Imams. Why not Imam Ali alayhi salam? Why not his Ashra? Why not Sayyidina Fatima? Why not Imam al-Askari, Imam al-Hadi, Imam al-Qadim? Why Abu Abdullah? Why is he the one for whom the heavens are weeping for, and not Imam al-Hassan, for example? Okay. The best answer to this I found in the book, The 250-Year-Old Man. In this book, the writer argues that from the moment of the birth of Imam Ali alayhi salam until the ghaiba of Imam al-Hujjah, there were not 11 people living, there was one soul alive on earth. One ruh living on this earth. Call it Nur Muhammad, call it Tajalli, call it anything, but it was one single reality. Sometimes that same soul was given the chance to go to the battlefield, so we named it Haydar-e-Karrar. Another time this same soul was told do sulh, we called it Mujtaba. Then that same one reality was told go to Karbala, Allah wishes to see you martyred, we call it Hussein ibn Ali. And every Imam shows us something new about Imamate which we never saw before. We had never seen an Imam in a prison like Imam al-Qadim before. We had never seen an Imam do tabligh from inside the court of Banu Abbas until Imam al-Rida. So when Zainab says, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila, she says, I see that this is the one opportunity which no other Imam has been given to show the beauty of Imamat. No one has seen this before. Imams have been tested, but no one's been tested like Hussein. So now we have a chance to see those hidden realities of Imamat which have been revealed for us. That means this. All Imams are special. All Imams. But Hussein is given the opportunity to show us the value of the Imams. Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam says that we are all ships of salvation. All of us. We are all Safinatun Najat. But Hussein is the fastest and the largest, so board his ship. We are all one reality. We all have beauty. But the one who showed us our true beauty, Hussein ibn Ali. So you go on his path. So where are we right now? Where have we reached? Abu Abdullah has this special connection with Allah Azza wa Jal. Special. And the only reason he's got it is because he was given the opportunity to show it. If my Muslim was in the same position, he would do the same things. What does Rasulullah say? My sons Hassan and Hussein are imams, whether they sit or they stand. Yeah, whether you are Hassani or Husseini, they are one. Abu Abdullah was Hussein. And he was given the chance to show us what it means to suffer and to still go back to Allah at every stage. This is the part where I'll end on, this most important part of this lecture. Every suffering, every moment of Abdullah, he always goes back to Allah. Every second, every wound, every moment. For the moment actually he leaves his home. He's in Medina. They told him you have to leave now. You have to leave your home and you have to go. So he reads the verse of Quran which Yusuf read, saying that Ya Rab, save me from Qawm al-Zalimeen. From the beginning he's only thinking of Allah. He sees nothing else. He leaves his home. They say to him, Abu Abdullah, don't go on the road to Mecca. Go through the desert because they might catch you. He says, I am on the path to Allah. None will take me away from this path. None. He reaches Mecca. Once he reaches, he enters, he says, perhaps Allah will guide me like he guided Yusuf. Hussein's a different level. He's seeing things that we don't see. He's walking with the people, but he's not with them. He is far, far away. He enters Mecca. As he enters, he receives all of these letters from the Kufa saying what? Come to Kufa, we'll give you power, we'll give you imamat, we'll give you this position. Trying to entice him with dunya, What does he reply? An imam is the one who follows what Allah says. I am an imam, not a khalifa. Many khulafa, one imam alive at this time. Then he's in Makkah. Then he gives that beautiful speech where he says, it's a difficult speech, where he says that I can see in front of me my body being ripped apart in Nainawa. Where is he? Makkah. He's not reached yet. But then he says, Allah wishes for me to be patient, so I will be patient. Anyone else would leave, not Hussein. He's in Makkah. Then he goes to sleep and he sees a dream. The Prophet says to him, that famous dream, Allah wishes to see you martyred. He wakes up, he says, we have to leave, we have to go towards Karbala. My death is waiting for me. When he leaves, he sees Farazdaq, the poet. What I'm demonstrating to you is every level, Hussein is only speaking about Allah. Farazdaq comes to him and says, people of Kufa, their hearts are with you, but their swords are against you. Abu Abdullah replies, at that moment, that our affairs are with Allah. Every day He deals with us with kindness. It's like he's answering a different question. He continues. Now, as the journey of Abu Abdullah continues towards Karbala, we see more and more about how much a person can love Allah. We never saw these lines before. Some of the things Abu Abdullah says on the journey are special. He reaches Karbala. The moment he enters the land of Karbala, he says, let every believer pray for death. He's entered Karbala. He says, I see death as happiness and living with oppressors as sadness. Here in Karbala, they make the camps of the people far away from Furat. He says a line which, when I read it about 3 years ago, I still don't understand this line. Imagine, Abu Abdullah has just entered Karbala. They put the camps in the different places. He writes a letter to his brother Muhammad Hanafiya. He says, we have reached Karbala. My brother, it is as if there had never been dunya and there had only ever been akhirah. Wassalamu alaikum. What does that mean? It's as if there had never been any worldly life and there had only ever been akhirah. What is Hussein seeing to think this the moment he enters Karbala? And then every day until Ashura, which is coming up, every day he speaks more and more about Allah, the reward you're going to face. He encourages and motivates his warriors. And in the day of Ashura, everything he says, we see how much he loves Allah Azza wa Jal. He gives 2 speeches on the day of Ashura. More, but 2 famous ones. One of them is the most famous one where he says, Allah, you are my needs, you are my treasure, the originator of every blessing, the one that I follow. Then he fights. And every time he brings back a body from the maqtal back to the camp, and his body starts filled with blood, he doesn't complain. He says, Allah, I will see you covered in this blood of my friends. But he keeps going. When? In that most difficult time of Ali Akbar alayhi salam, when he sees him, the narration says that Abu Abdullah, while Ali Akbar is fighting, Hussein is not still. He's walking, he's moving, he can't sit down still. But what does he say to calm his heart? Allah, I have sent to you the one who most resembles your prophet, so you take care of him. He's a father after all. And when he returns from Furat, after leaving Abbas, does he complain? No. What does he say? He says, Ya Allah, he says to people, is there anybody left who loves Tawheed like he loves Tawheed? Hussein is a different level. The journey continues. This line, which I'm about to say, might be the most heartbreaking thing Hussein says on the entire day of Ashura. When does he say it? While he's holding the body of Ali al-Asghar. He's holding this body. The soul has left the child. Hussein says, Ya Allah, I am in pain right now. But what eases my pain is that I know you have witnessed this. Imagine, a father with a child. I'm hurting. But the one thing which decreases my pain, I know you are looking at me right now. Then he says goodbye to the women and children. He says, Zainab, Sakina, have patience, have sabr, Allah will help you. And as he walks to the maqtal, he recites these words between him and Allah, only he understands. Ya Allah. He says, I have left every creature so I can be alone with you. I've orphaned my family so I can see you. Even if my body is torn into pieces, my heart will go nowhere except at your door. And that's why I said earlier, every wound he receives, he thanks Allah. The narration says that while he's fighting, one arrow is struck into the forehead of Abu Abdullah. How much can a man be tested? Abu Abdullah goes on his knees, he leans forward, but what does he say? He says, Ya Allah, grant me the honor of martyrdom. While this arrow is in his forehead, another arrow enters his chest. Hussein never gives up. While he leans forward, he says, Ya Allah, by Allah, through Allah, for the sake of Allah, I will die. While he's saying these words, an arrow enters his back. Ya Abdullah. He falls to the ground still, but still he's speaking. This tongue never stops. While he falls forward, he says that, Ya Allah, make what is happening easy for me, for you are witnessing this action. And then he lies on the ground. When he lies, there's a moment before he is killed where he is alone, because no one is coming near him. In this moment, he says these words of poetry, which some people consider to be his final words, Abu Abdullah, Hussein ibn Ali, some of his last words. He's lying alone on the battlefield. They are not sure whether they should attack him or leave him. He says the words, Oh Allah, now I should speak with you freely. Now I will speak with you. O one who is sublime and near to those who call him. Allah, I want you and I need you. I want you, I need you, I have no helper besides you, and I adore none except you. The narration says that as he says this line, around him they say, what are you waiting for? Somebody takes a stone and throws it at Abu Abdullah. He turns around, but remember he's still lying on arrows on the ground. And the narration says Abu Abdullah turns his body on his side and he starts weeping. Why? Because he can see Zainab is watching him from the camp. While he's lying there, he looks up. Imam Mehdi says he starts sweating and he starts clenching his hands in and out. Why? Because Shimr is walking towards him. In his left arm there is a sword, and in his right hand he's going to take the beard of Hussein. But Hussein turns his head. Why? He says, Zainab, do not witness what is about to happen. Zainab is watching. When they said, Zainab, what did you see on the day of Ashura? Did you see your brother being beheaded? What did she say? She says, I saw nothing but beauty on the day of Ashura. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. اللهم إني أسألك بحق فاطمة وأبيها بعد بنيها والسر المستعود فيها أن تسلم من آله. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. This Muharram allow us to be close to the beauty of Hussein, inshallah. Ameen. Ya Allah, for any sin we have committed, this Muharram wipe those sins clean for the sake of the tear of Hussein, inshallah. And Ya Allah, if we are to die in this Muharram, let us be raised with Imam al-Abadillah, Imam al-Mahdi, inshallah. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد